We
Yeah,
make it
sorry
work.
about that. Yeah, thanks, man. It's a pleasure.
Man, so yeah, should get it started. This is the Open Brother Project. I'm here with Major Pane, the podcast inspiration. Anybody that's been enjoying the Open Brother Project since I've been going at it weekly, he is a huge proponent of that. I was lagging quite a bit with getting it off the ground and getting consistent, and your words just kind of hit me in a place. You kind of gave me some validation for like my walking kind of video segments that I do, and I was like, I should be doing that. I thought of it, and then when you said it, I'm like, he's right. I gotta get started, and I've been going straight ever since, man. So thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Yeah, I'm glad, man. I see the streak, and trust me, it's motivated me too because there are some weeks I'm just like maybe not putting out a podcast episode, but then I see you and I'm like, ah, man, this is good. This is good. I really need to get down on working on that script. Yeah, so I love this. I love this. And great job. Great job. I really applaud the work you do because not so many people utilize or tap onto that, push, right? So you just jump right on it and here you are like doing great things. So kudos to you.
Man, thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'll always plug people at the end, but I mean, one thing that stood out to me is that you have your own podcast that's about men, and
Yeah.
if I can just say, I think it's about like men and how they develop and their attitudes towards life and their attitudes towards self-improvement and development
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So really really big podcast. Correct me if I'm wrong, it goes by the name of Major Pain.
Yeah. Major Pin podcast. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yeah, definitely check that out, guys. He's on Spotify and probably some other places where you guys listen to podcasts as well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Just in case, people's attention span, sometimes I like to hit them with the plug at the beginning.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's a good one, man. Awesome. Thank you so much.
No problem, man. One one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I mean, we can touch on growing up and stuff like that
Yeah.
maybe a little after, but like one thing that stood out to me is that you've done something that I've always wanted to do as a man, is that you made the trek. You went and decided to go into a foreign land and come here, make something for yourself, find
Yeah.
your own way. And that's what men have been doing throughout history.
Yeah.
So I would love to just talk to you about that and how that happened and what's that been like for you.
Oh, sounds great, man. You're speaking my language. Yeah. So, where do I start from? So, I relocated to Canada like in 2018. So it's been like say 4 years now. I've been in Canada, right? And I came from Nigeria, Africa. Um, so I relocated. I came. Yeah. So it was just pretty much like me being I was born and brought up in Nigeria all my life, but people find that hard to believe because I just grew up in a very kind of I wouldn't say in a weird way. I would say in a unique way. Exactly. So I lost my dad when I was 7, and it was just me growing up with my mom. I have two elder sisters, and I'm the last. So I'm like the only boy. So growing up in the midst of females was it was a blessing, even though it was challenging for sure, you know. But then I remember my mom, she used to tell me, so when I lost my dad, she would say, "Hope you know you are the daddy of the house." So she installed that thing into my head from the onset, right? And she was really quick in letting me on like how to run a house. Like she's more like because I saw her, she filled in the role of a mother and father like ASAP the moment it happened, right? And she was still in school then, so she was still going to school. We were still going to school, and then we'll literally like read together. We'll do like overnight reading and stuff when she's prepping for her exam and stuff like that. Yeah, so we were pretty much just came like we got really close, and she was really like she was just so firm in her values, firm in raising us up in the Lord's way. She's Christian too, and my dad was a Christian before he passed away, and so we kept like going to church, like we're just very strong in church attendance, plugged in and everything. Of course, people felt like, since we lost my dad, like we'll just be uh acting wayward, disrespectful, like acting anyhow. But I mean, to their surprise, that didn't happen, like God just kept us, like my heavenly father stepped in. That's pretty much it. And so me growing up in a world without like a father figure per se, I kind of started navigating the world all by myself. But one thing for sure was that I wasn't thinking about smoking. I wasn't thinking about drinking. Like those things didn't fancy me. Even when I was in a boarding school and you see guys deviate and do all those things, I wasn't just drawn into that. As a matter of fact, they would rather tease me, laugh at me, and just push me aside. And in my mind, I'm like, thank you, Lord. But for sure, then it's like, you're trying to see how you can belong, how you can join the big boy squad. But I just made up my mind that probably the big boys squad is not something I'm caught up for. So just why right in that moment, just chilling in my own zone, the Holy Spirit was boom, like, literally speaking to me. And there were words that I kept hearing at those moments that I'm just like, words that are just beyond you. And then words that when you get to maybe watch something somewhere and you hear someone with wealth of wisdom saying those things, and you're like, what? How did this, like, this was exactly what was in my mind. So that started giving me the confidence to even explore more into, like, say, just my own thoughts, the Holy Spirit thoughts. And the more I was growing in Christianity, we switched churches. I came to know about the Holy Spirit, speaking in tongues, started knowing about like the literal ministry of Jesus itself, and like when the Holy Spirit fell on the apostles and all those things. So like those things started becoming very, very real and physical. You understand, right? And so why just navigating, I came across personal development books. This was like in boarding school, which also opened my eyes to a lot of things about, like, like we have the ability to evolve, like we can't just remain at where we are at the moment. So those things kind of course it's still tie in line with the Bible, as in terms of how do you approach problems, like using problems as a means of that, in James, that says that problems kind of it said don't take shortcuts, right? That you should approach, like you should be excited when problems come, because it's going to polish you and prepare you, for the future. So moments like that, plus just growing up without a father too, and seeing life as that, from that raw sort of vision, how well, I say how the word is, how like the real ugly nature of the word. You
Yeah, yeah,
understand?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And just see my mom like strive and drive with so much grit and resilience and passion and hard work, that was also just giving me that strength that, man, if I want anything in life, I need to work hard. I need to start positioning myself now to work hard, prepare myself. I think it's a Proverbs that was talking about seeing a man who is diligent in his handwork, right? He will stand before kings and all that. So
Yes.
all those things kind of prepared me and pushed me into just like getting into a skill, like identifying a skill, which as at that time became graphic design. And I came across graphic design. I had an opportunity to teach then. I was teaching some seniors Microsoft Word and all those things.
How old were you at that point?
Well, I think I was so this was in my teen years, my
Okay, okay.
around say like 15, 16, thereabout. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
But like with like I don't know, from like I guess the point that your dad passed, like just in that very young age,
Yeah.
just being surrounded by women, um like how did you how was it? Like I guess your mom instilled the manhood that you would have, like seeing a dad growing up, she like instilled that in you by like calling you the man of the house basically.
Yeah, honestly, that word was like a seed that I would say took time to grow.
Mm,
But at that early stage, I was still kind of, I've used the word, this kind of, you've seen some boys, I wouldn't say some boys who are feminine, but some boys who are just kind of like weak, kind of like they are not
yes.
that firm. That was pretty much me, just that kind of boy that you see are like, oh, he's mommy's boy, this kind of
Yeah, yeah,
things.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was how I kind of was. So I really got laughed at multiple times, honestly. Yeah,
Wow.
but you know what? To me, when I think about it again, I'm just like, yeah, like it's just this kind of very young innocence of a child. And to me, I'm like, screw society for thinking about whatever. Were you expecting me to be lifting dumbbells at the age of 7? You understand, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
just
yeah.
just just let the child be, like, let the child be child. But
Yeah.
where I'm from, it's more like, people feel like if you don't suffer so much, like growing up, it's like, oh, boo, look at you, you're such a weakling kind of thing, like survivor of the fittest kind of mentality. You understand, right?
Well, I mean,
So
that's the biggest I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think
yeah.
that's the biggest struggle to have. I mean, me losing
Mhm.
my father, I lost my father, I guess, a year before he came over to Canada,
Oh.
and yeah, that's a tough thing to go through. Like I was at the age where I could, I understood he had a long life and everything, but going through
Mhm.
that at such a young age is wild, wild. That's
It is,
amazing
man.
that you turned out this way, that you have a men's podcast and you're leading the men and in developing certain ways. Like, wow, wow. And you had all sisters? That's actually a
Yeah.
shock. That's a shock, man.
I'm telling you.
Wow.
I would say it's God, like, I would say it's God for sure, because uh my mom she just told me right from the get-go that, you see, like, and I really draw a lot of wisdom from how she raised us up. I tell my wife this, a lot about just when I was that tender, right? And I also remember that my dad too instilled a lot of things in us that kind of prepared us for that handover. You understand, that kind of thing?
Wow. So you
Yeah,
remember him?
I remember for sure. Like,
Wow.
I'm as of today, I'm working on a podcast episode tribute to the fathers, right? And
Yeah.
I'm speaking in line to the things that my father kind of installed in me at that young age. And Colin, to shock you, right? We might feel like kids always, when they're maybe 10 or in their teenage stage, that you need to start infusing some values in them. I don't think so. Like, the moment they are born, it's that the values, they start grasping a lot of things, I'm telling
Yeah.
you. And I
Yeah.
noticed that, and how I'm able to notice is because I remember I still have vivid imagery of my dad leading morning devotion.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I
he was, wow, that's amazing, man.
You get right. I remember
Yeah.
him reading psalm. I remember him like singing. I remember him in men's fellowship. You understand? Like,
Wow.
I'm telling you, I
So,
remember.
so this is really something, like, because like we're in a men's group together, and like,
Yeah.
and I've heard you say sentences like you're on fire for Christ and stuff like that. So I mean, as much as it is religion, it's almost like that was the torch that your dad passed on to you. Like you're
Yeah.
doing the same things. Like that's incredible, man.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty much, honestly. I mean, I've been also able to x-ray my dad's life to see the things that, of course, he wasn't doing right, to
Mm,
see what could be the reason why he was acting the way he was doing. You understand,
mm.
right? I've x-rayed those things, and I've seen that, yeah, like, this is my life now, right? What path do I want to move? Like, because my dad did something doesn't necessarily mean that I have to do, quote unquote, that thing. And that's where the whole sense of accountability comes in, right? So I got to realize that I have the choice to choose, right? Do I want to be like my dad, or do I want to be something better than my dad? You understand,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get
Yeah.
it, right? Yeah.
Definitely. Wow, I had the exact same realization because
Mhm.
I only met my dad like a handful of times from the time I was like say 7, 6 up
Wow.
until I was like 12, and then he disappeared, and then I didn't reconnect with him until I was about I think 21 or 22,
Wow.
and seeing him, like by that time I had already been selling drugs and doing all sorts of stuff in the streets,
Mhm.
so I understood that he was like an alcoholic, that he was like this person that was kind of down bad, as people say.
Yeah,
Um, I understood that, and I had that exact kind of crossroads. But my crossroads was like I could be like him, or I could be like my mom,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And my mom, she's an entrepreneur, she's a bodybuilder. Well, she was a bodybuilder when I was young,
Wow, wow,
always up at 4 a.m., going to work, working hard,
wow.
coming home, then working out, like just really, really like a go-getter, like even at 50, I think like 55, she was like, hey, she's like, I'm never going back to work again. I'm starting a
Wow.
business. She's like, if you know anybody that wants XYZ, let me know. She's like, I'm never going back to a 9 to 5 again. And she didn't.
Uh,
She literally, and now she's like a snowbird. She lives that life that like when you're from the hood, you only see like rich white people live, where they get to live
mhm.
in one place in the wintertime and come back here in the summer. So she lives like that now. So it's like huge inspiration. So I had that same kind of
Yeah,
crossroads. Like I could be like him and like the wrong things he did, or I can be something much better.
exactly. And just
Uh,
speaking about mothers, right? There was this article I wrote on my blog, how single mothers can raise responsible men. And that article, I think I gave about like 7 points or so. And because I grew up in a single mom home, I know other responsible men who grew up from a single mom's home. And it just boils back to, like I said, my dad kind of handed over us to my mom, and mom took over, like she took the baton and she ran with it, you understand, right? And she was like, nah, you're not going to get sport under my roof. Like if you want to get sport, you can do that like when you're out of my house, but not when you are in my house. Not when you're under my authority, you understand, right? And that makes me really understand. And not just that, like seeing her play the role of mother or father, and same time being able to provide, being able to go out even if it's late to the night. I mean, I'll see my mom like when she was working one time at the airport. She worked at the airport for a long time. This was like much later, when I grew up and all that. I would see her leave the house around 4 a.m. and come back home around maybe 12 a.m. or 1 a.m. That's pretty much the end, the
wow.
whole day, like someone working, you understand, just to provide. And to shock you, we never at any point um, was sent back home because we hadn't paid our school fees.
Mm,
I'm telling you, like the way God started providing, like my mom took us all, we went through school, like we finished school, we went to university, like God was just providing, and life became a whole lot better. You understand, right? And she used to tell me, and this was another thing that has made my faith so strong, like in God, because I grew up watching God put food on the table, not just my mom, like God Himself, like put food on the table, clothe us, take care of us. Like people were thinking I had that my father was in the States. That was what
of
they were
course.
thinking. Yeah,
Of course.
they were thinking like that because they were like outside that, like my name is Newton, last name is Newton. I don't speak like the typical Nigerian way and all that. My father and mom, they prevented us from speaking our local like dialect. They also,
Slang.
yeah, and the slang too, the pidgin English. They prevented us, so it was just English all through. So people would just were feeling like, ah, man, my father is abroad, he's sending us money and all that. But yeah, but also growing up, even with that type of quote unquote people believing that maybe or thinking that is that way, it still put me into bullies' hands because
Mm,
some people just feel intimidated and they are like, trying to talk down on me. And boarding schools I went through, I had like some rough experience of people like beating me just
mm,
because of who I am and what I am and all those type of things. But then those things started shaping my thoughts about life in general, right? That, yeah, like we can be black guys, same skin, but it doesn't change the fact that one person's heart is dark and wicked and just wanted to oppress me. So boom, back again, I started thinking about the whole like, because back in Nigeria, they would say, oh, white men are bad, white men are slave, this and that, da, da, da. But then I'm like, when I lost my dad, I saw the horror that they did to my mom, like his folks did to my mom when we went to the village. I saw the thing and I'm like, I wouldn't want to come back here. In fact, I denounce you guys. I don't want to know you. I don't want to know
Like
you anymore.
like they treated her badly because
Yep,
she was a widow?
exactly.
Wow,
That's
really?
one crazy thing that happens in Africa, depending on the culture, but most culture, because they will say she's the one that killed the man, and they start
Wow.
coming up with some quote unquote like spiritual cleansing and this and that, and all those things are diabolic. They are not like part of the Christian faith,
Wow.
right? And my mom being a Christian, like she refused. She didn't accept, and she just stood like God literally showed up. Like she just put her foot
Yeah.
down. I'm not doing this, and
Like I know because you have a very strong faith, but like I often tell people, like, like God might bring you miracles, but it's up to you to manage them. Bro, you got a real strong mom. Like I know you're seeing God in a lot of
yeah,
it, but that was your mom, man. She
yeah,
could have easily just said, you know what? Nah.
yeah,
Like I've
yeah,
I've seen I've seen mothers going through less that'll give kids up for adoption, going through stuff like that.
exactly,
Like, man, you
exactly.
you have a really, because that 4 a.m. and coming back at 1 a.m. I did that for maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years working in the film industry.
Yeah,
And to have to do that for a decade or 2 decades, and
you know,
like to
right?
really have the weight of a family on you, and to do that while people are saying horrible things about you, your your
Yeah.
your mom has immense strength. This is a podcast to like talk about men and everything, but yo, your mom, yo, shout out to your mom. Your mom is absolutely Goku strength. I don't know if you ever seen Dragon Ball or anything, but your mom's like an anime character, man. Your mom is
I'm telling you,
strong.
bro, like just seeing her
Wow.
do those things, it blew my mind. I just started thinking, okay, how can I start right now building myself in order for me to elevate her from this, thing she's going through? How can I build myself to take care of her? And boom, that was where the real struggle about being a man started coming in. And you know what? Sometimes I'm like, you see this whole men's thing. Most of my content, I don't I don't discredit women, honestly. I keep
Of course.
saying it that if you want to be a strong man, you need the right women around you. Like
Of
it's the
course.
right women that ends up turning you into becoming a better man, a stronger man, honestly. So we can move that out of the equation. Yes, you can go to the gym, you can do this, you can do that, you can shoot some steroids or whatever, you can be like Hawk. But if you don't have that emotional strength, if you don't have that um emotional maturity, which women bring and which women also forces a man to develop on, you understand,
Mm.
right? The guy would just be like a child who is just has muscles and is not able to. I'm telling you, you understand. And
Yeah.
that's one of the beautiful thing about growing up around women. It can be challenging. The aspect that makes it challenging is not being able to understand how to respond, not being able to develop this abstract strength that is not physical strength, you
Mm.
know? And that's where the whole intellectual strength comes in. And that's what I can say a lot of men are lacking because they've been running away all their life from those things. But then raising a family is beyond the muscles. I mean, how many times as have we come across any war that requires you to take a gun and like kill 500 men before you're like, yeah, I'm a
Mm.
man? No, it's mostly you have to hustle, you have to use your brain, you have to brainstorm, you have to think critically and all those type of things. You have to
Yeah.
write, you have to design, you have to forecast, you have to plan, you have to budget. All these other strengths are things that just being around a woman can teach you.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's actually really well put, really well put. I definitely know that. I mean in like funny enough, in like a more like a man to a boy kind of thing. I remember when I met like, this is a woman before my wife.
Yeah.
She pushed me to the point where I was living in like my childhood room, and then I ended up,
Whoa.
yeah. Like I was still young, but I was like, I couldn't have enough privacy, and because of her, I was like, yo, I need more privacy, and I need to be able to drive a car. You know, like
Wow.
I have to have my own car. Like it made me step up in that way. Although she wasn't the right person,
Yeah,
all of a sudden when I met my wife, I was equipped with that stuff. And then my wife pushed me even further, like way
exactly.
further.
Yeah,
She made me want me to develop into somebody who could be a father, into somebody who could support a family,
yeah,
somebody who can provide for financial stability, like all these things that I had never really taken like onto my shoulders completely, because I always
yeah,
wanted to help my mom here and there, but like
exactly.
this was like somebody where I was like, I need to take care of this person. Like if
Exactly.
I want to be able to take care of them completely. Yeah, she definitely pushed me for that and made me
Yeah,
into the person I am now. She has a huge hand in it. Everything that you're saying,
yeah,
budgeting, planning,
exactly. Yeah,
organization,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, like
yeah.
all that stuff, man. So true.
I'm telling you. Sometimes you would think like, hey, Major Payne will say it's a man's coach, it's a this. Trust me, my wife is my coach too.
Man,
I'm telling
man,
you.
I second that, man. I was just telling my coach, because I have a coach myself.
Yeah,
And I was telling him, I'm like, my wife, because she works at a restaurant, she's an assistant GM, and and she has to coach people every day.
yeah,
Like she has to like, oh, okay, I'm gonna walk these people through this operation, I'm gonna walk people through that. And there are certain things that the coach will tell me that I'll be like, my wife told me that like 2 days ago. She just said that
exactly.
same thing to me. Like, yeah, man. She's constantly, you know, little like we're traditional, so she doesn't like to step in with the masculine per se, but she will always be that wife that's there to be like, if I ask, she'll be like, maybe you should do it like this. But she definitely doesn't want to
Exactly.
take over.
Yeah,
We're very
yeah,
traditional that way in
yeah,
our
exactly.
nuclear family unit kind of thing.
Good.
You know,
Yeah.
like I don't like I, not to discredit any guys that do it, but I don't have a partner. I have a wife. You know what I mean? Like,
Boom. Yeah, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah, I think the whole word partner makes marriage look like a contract, while a wife make marriage looks like a covenant. Exactly.
That's
Yeah,
very well said. Very well said.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know, not to put anybody down that does it, but for
yeah,
me,
yeah.
it's like, you know, like I heard a guy talking. He's like, and then we got pregnant. No, I get my wife pregnant.
Yeah.
It's not a
I'm
problem. However
telling you.
you want to talk is fine, but for
Yeah,
me, I'm gonna get my wife pregnant, and then
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna help her with her pregnancy.
Exactly. I'm with you on that, Colin, for real. Yeah. No, for real, true. And just come like for me, coming from Africa and seeing how masculinity is expressed here is completely different. Honestly, like even just navigating as a single person in the streets of Toronto, like going to work and you seeing different ladies and all that, man, it was just completely different. I had to sit down and ask God what is happening. Like, can you just show me exactly what is happening?
Tell me about those differences, because I mentioned that to you when we were at that breakfast, that
Yeah,
there must be like a big difference. How does it differ from Toronto to Nigeria in terms of
sure, sure,
masculinity?
sure. I will tell you. So, okay, but first and first, I understand I'm in two different countries. Like, I mean, this is a separate country, right?
Mhm.
Separate culture, separate everything. You understand, right?
Mm,
Separate individuals. But again, I don't think the man in Bahamas is different from the man here. Let me
mm.
put it this way. Why I said so? I read an article that said, I don't know if it's Bahamas or one of these countries that ladies love to travel,
Okay,
and,
okay.
and they said Canadian ladies they travel to that country specifically because of the men.
Yep.
So I'm like, wait, hold on. So you say no to the guys here, but you would rather spend money to travel to another country to go flirt with the men there because they are more manly. They
Hmm.
express themselves in a manly way. They are not afraid to break that space.
Mm.
They get to touch you, they get to dance with you, and you smiling and laughing and everything. You okay with that? But once you come back to Canada, you put this bubble around you that no man should talk to you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like,
Very
wait,
true.
that's something is not right. Something is not right. So it means that you want to be touched, you want to be spoken to, you want to feel that sense of a man, but it's more like you only can have it the way you want when you are maybe in Canada, but when you are out there, you seek for those things that you can't really get in your country. So that
Mm,
means that you're just pretty much a woman who wants the same thing every woman wants. You
mm,
understand, right? But where my own learning curve came in was I didn't know it was like that. I felt like where I'm coming from is the same with this place, especially when you see the movies. The movies, oh my God, they lie like big time. Trust me. You know, those rom-com that you are like, oh my God, so that's how I'm in the library, and then our eyes will hit, and that's it, you know. Man, it
That's
took me a
funny.
while. It
Mm,
took me a while. I had to do a lot of research, lots of listening to different couple of podcasts, couple of it was even like in my search of this whole thing, I started realizing, okay, there's something called the red pill community, which I wouldn't consider myself to be part of. Like the red pill is not, I mean, that doesn't align with the Bible per se as much
yeah,
as
yeah.
some of them I claim they do, but I don't think so. And though when you look at the ambassadors of the red pill too, I'm like, nah, 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 these guys are not like the Joseph in the Bible, the Jesus in the Bible. That
I was gonna say, if anything, you're part of the Christian group. You're part of the Christian pill.
I'm
You know?
telling you, the Christian pill, the Christ pill,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
so, but I'm not. I mean, everyone to their own. I feel like everyone can make decisions based on their own stuff. But again, I just had to do a lot of research, and that was where I started understanding, like, okay, here feminism is at the forefront, and feminism itself has knocked masculinity off where it was, and that is really affecting a lot of men's mental health, and also it's showing in the society from the everything that we see today. Every single problem we have today is because there's something imbalanced, there's something not balanced. And why do I say so? Because family is the first place of socialization.
Of course.
And if the family is broken, society is broken.
Mm,
And the whole Marxist feminist ideology itself is not, it can't be found in the Bible. And that
mm,
itself, it's just causing the family unit to implode, right? And
mm.
once that is taken away, it just rubs off like a snowball effect, and that's it.
That's very true. That's very true. That's a good way to put it. Once the family is broken, society's broken. I can definitely, just from me having pretty dysfunctional family, like my dad had, five or six kids, five different women, and like all this different stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
I can, and then like, some siblings I don't talk to at all. Some, like the ones on my mother's side, they're like my brothers because we grew up together. And then the other ones, it's like it's very fragmented. So I can definitely understand that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's very, very well said. But when it comes to the differences, like Nigeria, like how you going up to a girl in Nigeria?
Okay.
You doing the like standard, you just grab the hand kind of thing? Like what are you guys doing?
Well, I mean, grabbing the hands is just too much. You can right now the person will receive a slap, but I mean, but the thing is, I think the way the society is, people are very cordial to each other. You know, people are
Mm,
very open and warm to each other. I might just be meeting you for the first time and we just talking like we've met before, you know, we
mm,
already exchanging numbers at night, we're already texting, like, do you want to hang out, all those type of things, right? Like it's just natural. You understand?
mm,
There's no, oh, I have to I mean, I get it, you have to be careful and all that, but it depends. But most times it's just very smooth, just so smooth.
ah,
You understand? But here I notice it's there's just a whole lot of things involved from you have to find the appropriate time, and of course you don't want to rush it, so you have to find the appropriate time to first of all, even okay, you meet somebody, you guys talk. I mean, the chances of even getting the person's number is like 1 out of 10. You get it, right? Okay,
true.
so you might ask
Okay.
for a social media account, right? Okay, you ask for a social media account. Now what next?
Mm.
You sending a message. Like, how in God's name can you send a message that shows that you are pretty much interested? Because what do men and women do? Do they just, you know, that kind of thing? Like, you
Mm.
get to an age that it's no more. You're not just looking for a female friend. You're looking for a partner. As simple as that. I mean,
Okay, okay.
you get right. Like, we are not kids that you're like, well, I just want to be your friend and do what? Like, hold hands and go play what?
So
Where's
so
that?
exactly. So basically like over for where you're from, it's like it's okay to make your intentions clear.
Boom.
Whereas here it's like if you make your intentions known right away, it's like, oh, like there's a defense up to you like
You
right
get right.
away.
But meanwhile, that same girl, it's online on Hinge, on Tinder,
Mm,
and she's open for that
mm,
for someone sliding into a DM to talk to her. But
mm-hmm,
when it's face to face, no, I'm taken. I have a boyfriend. You
mm,
understand, right? So there's just this sense of uh it's more like breaking the natural law because you just want to look civil or you just want to look
ah,
whatever, you understand, right? You get right. but
yeah,
but
100%.
but then deep inside, the desire to be with someone, the desire to have a family, the desire to have a man is
Mm.
there. You get right.
Okay. Like I was talking to an older man. I was producing a podcast once, and
Yeah.
this older African American gentleman, like big executive producer, but he's like older guy, and he's like today, he's like it's very odd the way guys act. He's like to me, he's like when I was young, he's like 40 years ago, 35, 40 years ago, he's like you would go up to a girl, and you would make your intentions known right away.
Yep.
He even said he's like even if she had a boyfriend, he's like you would go up to her, you wouldn't be disrespectful, but you would be like I think I can treat you better than that. I've seen you with this person, I think I
Yeah.
could treat you better, and if you would ever be open to it, I'd like to take like you would just the way he put it out there, I was like wow. He's like and that just doesn't happen anymore. He's like for
Yeah.
some reason, he's like guys have to act like they're friends for years sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality they want one thing. he's like
Boom.
he's like to me, he's like that's more sheepish, like that's more conniving.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
like yeah, I understand completely now. Okay,
Yeah, I
true.
feel like there have never been any more. There haven't been a generation that has this much number of friend zoned men. Never have there been, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
being so friend zoned and you're just like, oh my God. I mean, I've been friend zoned like multiple times in my life, right? But then again, just thinking that, this is where a lot of things changed anyway. Hence my podcast. Like I started realizing that now I've just talked about a couple of issues here and there, da 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 da. So the question is, okay, what's next? What is the next step? How can you as a man navigate this whole complex situation? It's one
Mm,
thing to say, oh, feminism is the issue. And it's another thing to say, maybe I don't understand the whole thing enough. Or maybe I'm not building myself enough to be above the problem, to even
accountability.
be the solution of what's happening. You
Mm,
understand, right? So it's more like that ignorance ends up making men feed into the problem rather than being a solution to the problem. You understand,
mm.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. That's
exactly.
so true. Yeah, accountability, right? Like taking it onto yourself. I mean, yeah, it's rare that it's getting a little more common because there's men like you out there. There's men like, dare I say, me out there. There's
Yeah,
different
yeah,
podcasts, Jocko, Joe
yeah.
Rogan and stuff. But like, yeah, accountability. Like maybe it's me. Maybe I
Yeah,
need to build on this. Maybe I need to change this. Maybe I need to enhance this, in
boom.
order to, like you just said, put yourself above the problem rather than just immersing yourself in it. And
Exactly.
because then that becomes very woe is me. I always say, like when you do stuff like that, you kind of give away all your power because now it's
Exactly.
like it's over here and I can't do anything about that,
Yeah.
Whereas if you put it here, you're like, well, this I can change. This
This I
this
can
I can
change.
change all
Yeah.
day.
Yeah. Exactly.
Man,
Exactly. So
true.
so that's it. So what I did was really just like work on myself like hardcore, like really hardcore from waking up 5 a.m. We talked about this. I told you I used to. So I had a mentor. She's a woman of God, powerful lady. She really invested in me, invested in terms of books, um, uh, paid for me to attend a couple of leadership like programs here
Wow.
and there. I'm telling you, like she invested in me. I'm telling you, and that's another thing. and honestly, just growing up and see the amount of both men and women that has invested in my life,
Mm.
for me, I find it odd sometimes. Sometimes I find it odd, like charging for some things, or I'm just like, nah, I'm just going to do this for free for this person, or I'll give this for free. However, I've been able to change how I go about that because I've also noticed that people abuse free things.
Of
uh,
course.
yeah. So but I've just been a little bit more intentional, but again, me not expecting anything in return makes me just say, okay, I know I can do this for free. And my goal is, because I don't want it to be that someone would have an excuse to say, oh, because I couldn't afford it, I couldn't transform myself, or I couldn't benefit from this particular thing. You understand? So now I've played my part. It's now up to you to do yours. You understand, right?
Mm.
And looking at the relationship between my mentor and I'm just like, man, God blessed me with this lady, and she was exactly what I needed to get that spark in order for me to be who I am today. So she took me through rigorous like training, and then that opened my eyes to my strength, opened my eyes to what I really want to be, what I want to do, like what is my purpose in life. I went through other trainings too. I had to pay for like my coaching certification. So I went through different uh, topics on from purpose to yeah, goal settings, and then what's it called, happiness, and all those other like really nice topics that just opened my mind. I even did a course on relationship too, and it opened my mind too about the things that I know, but I've just been kind of scared to leave those things,
Mm.
to be that thing, to be that person, you know. And then I just like, you know what? I'm gonna unravel my uniqueness, and I don't care. I don't care
Man.
who I'm just gonna be who I am, because this is what God has made me to be. And I'm going to keep enhancing that part of me. And I know for sure that those people who are going to draw strength from it, they will draw strength from it, and they will also like pass it on. And that is,
Yeah.
to me, the real definition of being the light of the world and being the salt of the earth, you know. And
Wow.
yeah.
That's that's amazing, man. Just to look, so I'm actually facing that issue right now myself, where
Mhm.
I'm opening up as a coach, high performance coach, life coach.
Yeah,
And my coach was talking to me. He's like, who do you want to be? Like you have to be that person. You have to, you have to put yourself out there as that person, or else
yeah,
people won't know. And it's crazy that you just said that, because it's like, yeah, unravel. That's perfectly put. Unravel your uniqueness.
yeah,
Let everybody see it, because all of a sudden it's like that's where the magic happens. Now
yeah,
they know. Now they know you're that. Now they think of you when they think of somebody who needs help with that. Now all
exactly.
of a sudden you become that person where they have permission to now open up to you. And that's for anybody, whether they're artists or
Yeah,
whatever profession that you are. It's like, if you can just open up and just be that, it just, yeah, it changes everything. So I'm honestly like, I mean,
yeah.
being vulnerable here, I'm actually wrestling with that quite a bit. It's a little hard. Like I'm slowly coming to it. I started hashtagging my stuff life coach and everything, but I have to like change my bio and like really just kind of embrace it and just start making that content more so, like
Exactly.
I do with the podcast and everything. So yeah, that's good that you opened up, like that you opened up so soon. But
Yeah.
but if you don't mind me asking, like if we come back to like now you have the coach, now you have all that stuff, but what made you come over here? And what made you come over here? What made you think you could do it?
Oh, good question. Well, I mean, God got the heavens and the earth. That's the first thing. My father owns the world, right? Pretty much. No, for real. Honestly, that's just it. I like for me, it's more like there are a whole lot of things I've been wanting to do that I cannot do where I was brought up, where I was. You understand? Like the country is very hostile. There's a whole lot of suppression of ideas and creativity and all that, right? Plus the insecurity too is just crazy, like so insecure, so insecure. And yeah, like just with the look of things, it's more like, why should one die in this place when God has something better for you elsewhere? trust me, it can be anywhere I find myself. I used to tell myself, even if I go to Japan, I would still do what I'm called to do, which is this, which is to impact lives. I don't know, it might look different from how it is right now, but I know I would still be doing something in line to this. I will
Yeah.
still meet a mentor who will probably maybe teach me some martial arts.
Yeah.
Right? I'm telling you. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
but again, that's just the mindset I had. I had this mindset that anywhere I find myself, I would thrive, I would succeed, I would excel. Is the same principle everywhere. Take the story of Abraham. God told him, hey, get up, go to a place, I will direct you, I will lead you, and I'll
Mm,
make everything happen for you. So even when I was in Nigeria, I saw that happen to me. I've been to different states in Nigeria for like schooling, serving, just one or two things. And I saw how God showed up from nowhere, nowhere, bro. Like even how I got admission into university, it was a miracle. I'm telling you, like a school I've never heard of, I got admission there. Like to tomorrow, I tell people the same thing, and it's like, how is it possible? I'm telling it was just a miracle, I'm telling you. So even so there's something called National Youth Service that you do for 1 year in Nigeria.
mhm,
Every graduate has to do it. So it was my turn, and my sisters they served in the capital where we were living, so it was convenient from them. Right from home they go to their placement where they were like doing their intern and stuff. But for me it was a town I've never been to. Again, I was like, man, God, what's up? Like it seems like you have so much so much how I saw it was just that God was prepping me for something, right?
mhm,
I don't know what it was. But then I just said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it same way we were able to go to this school for 4 years. We finished, and now you're sending me to this other town. I'm going to go, and we're going to impact lives. I went there, and just by miracle, I got a lovely apartment, bro. Like this house was like a three-bedroom apartment that was brand new, and the owner just happened not to be staying in it. And I went to a bar one day to drink, and I saw somebody who I asked, "Hey, bro, I'm looking for a house." Da da da, and it was like, "Well, that his brother-in-law has a house that he's not staying. That, yeah, you could just pay some amount and you can move in, bro." That was it. Case closed. That was how I stayed.
wow.
I'm telling you. And then, I mean, God has just shown up for me, bro, like in multiple ways. So, migrating here for me, I stayed in a shelter
Mhm.
for like about, I think, 2, 3 months. I stayed in Seaton House. I stayed at Home First Shelter. Seaton, I don't know if anyone listening to this and you know Seaton House. I used to call it Satan House.
Is is this in Canada or Nigeria?
Canada, Toronto, downtown.
Wow, really?
Yeah, Sitting House, man. It's something else. I mean, just imagine coming from Nigeria and you go, you're expecting to see like a place, like pretty well furnished and like cool and all that. But then you just see like junkies, like
Oh yeah. Oh
and
yeah.
cigarette butts on the floor, like is that's the gravels, the cigarette butts. That's like the gravels, I'm telling you. That then the smell alone
Wow.
is something else, right? Like,
So you
and
stayed there for 4 months?
I stayed there for like I think 1.5 month, and then the other like 1.5 month was in another shelter. Yeah,
Wow. In the
it
shelter, eh?
yeah. I mean, I didn't have anywhere to stay, right? So it was. But guess what? I saw God in that place, bro. Like
Mm,
that thing opened my eyes too, because I started seeing that life is the same everywhere. People are suffering everywhere. People are hustling everywhere. You understand? And um, the only way out is just like first of all working hard, protecting yourself, and secondly just looking up to God for direction. you know so, and coming to Canada, I have my Christian faith and my Christian life. It got more mature here, because in Nigeria, I mean, you kind of have people to lean on, but here there's no one to lean on.
mm.
If I don't go to work, I'm not going to pay my bills. But in Nigeria, if you don't go to work, trust me, you might even get fatter because you have people supporting you. I'm telling you, you know.
Wow.
So just seeing how the difference of lifestyle, and also just seeing the reality of life too. I'm grateful. I was at those two shelters because it reshaped my ideology about everything. And it made me even more thankful to God that, wow, like honestly, I might be in that shelter, but at least I know that my life is even a lot better. Even if, yes, like, but at least I know that I don't have everything taken away from me because I saw people there who they don't have anything.
Yeah.
They're just there, you know?
Man, that's
I'm t-
wild. I actually had to go to a shelter. Like anytime I have like too many clothes, I
Mhm.
always try I don't go to like Salvation Army and stuff. Like no
Yeah,
knock to them, but I like to go
yeah,
like
yeah,
right to the place where people need them.
exactly.
And I went there and it was just like, yeah, seeing like like a lot of the times we get down on ourselves and it's like, oh, it can't get any worse than this. And it's like, yeah, it can. It can
It
get
can,
worse.
it can.
It
No,
really
for
can.
real. It can, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, so I'm so grateful, honestly, for those experiences. I mean,
So so how did you go from a shelter to now living on your own? It was just going to that bar and talking to that person? Like how like
oh, okay. So okay. I think there's a little, so the bar I went to was
yeah.
in Nigeria. In
Okay,
Nigeria, that
okay. So
was
that
when
was in
that
the
happened. Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
then from
So
shelter in
for,
Canada to
yeah, so what happened was that, so I'm working with a nonprofit right now. So when I was in the shelter, I was really going all out just to network, like meet people. I introduced myself and everything, just looking for opportunities here and there, right? So a couple of social workers used to come to the shelter. This was still at Seton House, right? They used to come to the shelter and ask each of us, like, what do you want to do? What's training and all that? Because I had a case, I had a caseworker, yes, working with the city of Toronto. So it's more like if I find a course I want to do, my caseworker would refer me to the program. You understand, right? So what happened was that I came across a program called Learn to Earn, and I saw that it had to do with digital media, this and that, and that was my forte. I Before coming to Canada, I was a digital media consultant. I was training people, training staff on digital media tools and all that. So when I came here, I wanted to continue for sure. So I saw that program and I was like, wow, this is it. So I went, did the intake and everything. So I started the program and I really enjoyed it. It was so good. Very gave me everything I needed. So through that, I was able to perfect my like graphic design, video editing, and all those things. Right. So, college, you'll be shocked. Just wait.
this is crazy.
Let me
This is
give you.
crazy.
You'll be shocked. So, what happened is now you see why everything that's happening is really for a reason, and that's why I say thank God I was in that shelter. So first of all, if not for that shelter, I wouldn't have come across this program, correct, right? So while I was in the program, the facilitator, she was like, oh wow, Paul, like you really are good, and I would literally like assist her, like checking on my colleagues to make sure that they are okay and all that, because I just had that natural like facilitating like skills because I was into that. And my goal, which I had told my facilitator, was that I would like to be a digital media facilitator in the future. That was my goal after the program. You understand? So what had happened was that, so I would assist them. Then when the class is over, I will stay behind. So class ends around maybe 1. I will stay behind until 5 because I don't want to go back to the shelter, right? There's pretty much much happening. So I will stay behind with the computer they gave me. I would just be practicing. And then when it's 5, I would wipe the decks, take the computers, and I close. So I started doing this, the programs for 2 months. I I started becoming like a part-time staff there. That was how it was looking like because they knew me that I would stay behind, I would show up on time, I would stay behind, help clean, pack, and go. You understand, right? That's pretty much how I
Wow.
was doing. So what had happened after graduation, they were like, man, Paul, you know what? They just loved me. They loved me. and they were just like, man, there's an opportunity if I would like to apply. Like, why not?
Of course.
So I applied and went through interview and all, and I got the job, but it wasn't in line with digital media. It was a community engagement specialist part-time. Man, bro, that was like my very first job in Canada. I was so happy, a reputable organization and all that. And I was just going out and I was acing it. I brought in a lot of opportunity within 6 months of working there in that place. I connected them with a radio gig. I connected them with one guy who had like a software company like that. So I kind of did that introduction so that we could send some of our media students there for placement and all that. So they were so happy, you know. And I came across another opportunity which I applied for, and this was like a higher opportunity. This was community development. Sorry, this was project management role, a project uh, coordinator role, rather, a project coordinator role.
Mm.
Bro, I don't have any project management experience. I had no, it was just my 6 months experience I had a springboard, and I applied for this job. And the thing there was that somebody, I have met a couple of people in this other organization that I applied to,
Mm.
and they know me to be this go-getter. They know me to be this guy who is just a people person who loves to talk, because through my role, I was attending events, attending meetings, tables, and all that. So I got to connect with a lot of people. So when I applied, the person who attended like the call, did the interview and everything, her colleague knew me, and her colleague had put in good words for me, saying that you need Paul in your team. Paul is the person you need for this project.
Bro, you
I'm
got
telling
it?
you, I got it.
Oh my God. This is crazy.
I'm
Yo, you
telling
went
you.
from a shelter to that to project manager, bro. That's in wow.
You know,
That's
right?
crazy.
So okay, speaking about housing, so when I started my work at Springboard, that was the 6 month, the place I worked for 6 months. It was like
Mm.
I finally got a house. So when I moved into the house, I resumed work the next day. Pretty much that was how it was. Just so I moved from the shelter. So okay, after 6 months, I got this other job. I worked there for 2 years. And then when the project was almost over, I was like applying out to different places. And what then happened was that I was still keeping in touch with my folks at Springboard, and they were just like, "Hey, what's up? Like, there's an opening. What's up?" And what's the opening? Digital media programs, meaning
Yo.
I will be teaching. So I was like, okay, why not? So I jumped on it, and when I jumped on, it was exactly that same program that I was in 4 years ago, but this time I will be the facilitator of the program.
Mm.
So
Wow. Yo, your dad would be very, very happy. Very,
I'm
very
telling
proud
you,
of you.
bro. I'm telling you, bro.
Very
So
proud of you.
yeah, so that's where I am right now. So I understand all the clients I've served. I know their experience, like what they are going through, the complexity, what it is like to navigate digital media, the crazy market out there, like the need for them to build their portfolio. And
Mm.
my coaching career too is heavy on me doing media, that's writing blog articles, uh, shooting videos. I have an online course, so all those experience I get to bring it back into class and teach them as well. So that's what even
Man.
based the curriculum. Yeah.
Oh, yo, that's crazy. I'm so glad I did this. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. Wow. Wow, man, that's nuts. Do you have kids yet?
No, not yet.
Oh my God, this guy, your kids are not gonna be able to argue with you. You're gonna be like, I stayed in a shelter. I stayed at the program. I came early. I stayed late. Oh my gosh. Wow, man. That is absolutely like salute to you, man. That just yeah, that shows, man. Sometimes you gotta work for free because that's how it feels. And
Yep.
and amazing things come from it if you're just willing to just put in the work and stick it out.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I,
incredible,
I
man.
keep saying this day. I can never be jobless, bro. Like never. Like trust me. The only thing I can do is yeah, I'll just work for free. But one thing for sure I know is that through that free work I'm doing, I would be favored to get something else in that for real.
Yeah.
That's the mindset I have. I'm like, even if I go to China today, I still know, yes, I will suffer, but I know for sure. Just give me a couple of time, bro. Like with the God I have,
Mm.
something must happen, man. Something must happen.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
telling you.
give you 3 months. Holy, you just
I'm
put them in
telling
the
you.
shelter. Holy, that's no, that's like, oh man, because that stuff, like you're doing stuff that like I want to do, get into organizations I'd like to get into, and like the fact that you got there from a shelter is
Yeah.
absolutely, it's so
Yeah.
inspiring, so commendable. That's wow, man. Look at you. I had no idea. I thought I was just chilling. I thought I was just chilling with this guy from my men's group today, man.
No,
Wow.
man, there's just so much, like so much that I've just learned how to just like, yeah, just keep it cool. Like, just of course, like this is my story, and I get to share with only people who are interested in knowing or who get to ask me. I would
Mm,
never just like just put myself, and even on my say podcast, sometimes I share sometimes, but I'm just heavy on what are the lessons I've learned so far, and how can I package that to someone else for them to run with it? You understand, right? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. My coach was telling me to do the same thing just because of all the stuff that I've been through from, like being out in the streets, doing all that stuff
Mhm.
to like I've worked like 40 different jobs, and he's like
Wow.
you should be, he's like, because I got it down to a science, like I knew how to get jobs, like I could just see a
Yeah.
job and be like, okay, I know exactly what I have to do, and I go in and I
Wow.
just get it. And
Wow.
he's like you should be making content about that. He's like, because a lot of people
Yeah.
don't know how to get jobs, and I'm like,
Exactly.
it's so easy. But
Yeah.
man, I don't know how much of that story you've shared on your podcast, but that's, man, I'll give you this if you want. You can have this recording because man, you should really be telling people this, man. That's really inspiring, man. Really
Yeah.
inspiring. I mean, this makes you, to me, hearing stuff like this makes you an authority in life. Not even just like
Wow.
men development or this development or digital anything, like life. Like that's incredible, man.
Yeah.
Incredible. That's
And
so hard.
yeah, and that's one thing. Like I do get to share. I'd like outside my podcast, right? I do get to share this like to my clients. You know, like
Mhm.
we have different cohorts, and I share the story with them, and when they get to hear it, it really change their perspective a whole lot. Especially when they hear first that I was in the program as they are going through, and they're able to see how one is able to maximize the opportunity, right? And then they start to think like, oh wow, like really, like this is serious, you know. And yeah, and so far, honestly, to be frank with you, Collins, my supervisor, they're just so proud, you know, like so proud for with the nature of work I get to do, because first off, I work from the bottom of my heart, right? And thanks to my Christian value of working as though I'm working for God. I'm not working for them. I'm working for God. You understand?
Mm.
So that attitude makes me want to be like, I gotta do everything I need to do for my clients to succeed. You understand, right? So I'm very
Yeah.
passionate about getting them to succeed, and that requires me like just outside giving them the skills they need for graphic design, this and that, but worry about their mentality. How can I stretch their capacity? How can I make them be this automated type of person who 2 months before they start the program, they're just like, eh. But then when they are leaving the program, they have fire in their blood and in their
Yeah.
bones, right? And the
Yeah.
beautiful thing is when they graduate with a portfolio, and they're just like, wow, like, so I was able to do this. And I'm like, yeah, like this is all your work. You understand, right? You're able to achieve this. So
Wow, man.
yeah.
Bro, that's amazing. And it goes back to like every speaker, every person who's trying to inspire or coaching, we always come back to the whole, finding your why.
Exactly.
and making it something bigger than yourself. And you did that, like you found it in God. Some people find it, looking into their children's eyes.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know
yeah.
I find it I find it with my wife, just
Mm,
how incredible she's been and how supportive she's been. And if I could just pay it back,
yeah,
in the form of, being able to take care of her through the rest of our lives,
yeah.
that would just be the thing. I mean, me and my wife, man, I say it all the time. I always say it, man. When we first met, I was switching jobs so much. I switched jobs like, at least with the first 2 months we met, I switched jobs like 7 times.
Wow.
Like I just kept getting
Wow.
jobs. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And instead of being like, this is a red flag, she was like, it's very impressive that you're just able to go get jobs like that. She's like, it's very
Yeah.
impressive. And I remember the first month we were talking, I was like so low on money. I didn't have money to pay my phone bill, and she paid my phone bill for me so she could
Wow.
so she could keep talking to me.
Wow. That's so adorable. Yeah, and honestly, I feel like uh that grit, right? That audacity that you exhibited, to just be able to like even switch jobs. It shows like you're a go-getter. You just you know what you're doing. You know what you want, and you're just going to go after it. You understand? And if you are in a place that you're not getting that thing, you're like, yeah, man, as in I gotta leave. I need to go elsewhere where I'm going to get that thing I need. That's yeah. And work itself, I find, is something that I've got to realize that really work itself transforms everyone.
Mm,
Like if um if if one is not growing in their work, there's a problem. It's two things: either the organization is not seeking for their improvement, or the person is not seeking his own improvement.
mm,
And what do I mean? So, like my place of work, they challenge us to have goals, like yearly goals. So you meet with your supervisor, you share your goals, either goals within the organization or your personal goals in general. So what you then do is you would fill out a form, what the goal is, how does it align with the maybe organization values, and then they will not ask you what training do you need to meet up to those goals. And if you need to pay for a course, depending on the amount for sure, they get to pay for you, you understand, for you to take that course. So they are pretty much investing in you so that
yeah.
you can be advanced. And honestly, I mean, I've pretty much been into courses here and there, and I've seen how courses have transformed my life, both free and paid. And like within last year and this year, I can count number of courses I've attended, and now I'm still going to attend another set of courses, which has really transformed how I get to deliver my workshops, how I get to connect with my clients, how I get to support them, how I get to assist, how I get to speak to them, all those things. And it has really transformed and evolved. So work itself, yes, I'm still doing same thing, but I'm doing it in a different and evolved way. You
Of
understand?
course.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, kudos to you for real. I mean, for just being that audacious and forthgoing, forthcoming, and yeah, like that's
Yeah,
what we
man.
need. That's what we need.
Thank you. And yeah, I guess just sometimes you gotta not be afraid to walk. Like I kind of, like in social science and like behavioral science, they talk about
Mm-hmm.
abstract concepts and concrete experience. And
Yeah, yeah,
through getting one job and then another and another, I kept on concretely experiencing the fact that if I leave one place, I can find something else. Like I'm good
boom,
enough to find something else.
boom. Yeah,
Like most people, if they stay at a job for a long time, it's just a concept that they could find another job,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
But if you actually go and perform it, you start giving yourself these concrete, like I like to think of it as steps. You
yeah,
give
yeah,
yourself this
yeah.
concrete experience, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I really can go and do that. So it built up my confidence, not just in going for the job, but in when I was dealing with the job that I was currently at.
Makes
It would be
sense.
like, I don't have to put up with any type of just anything
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah,
anybody.
yeah.
I know I can go and achieve more. Like I
Exactly.
know I've done it time and time again. Like I know I can, and I think that's a big thing
Boom.
that people need. If you
True,
could
true,
just
true.
because a lot of people are scared, right? Like you stay at the same job not because like for 20 years, not because they love it, but it's because they don't know if they can really go out there
You
and
know,
do it all
right?
again.
I'm
You know?
like, it's that's so true. Like today, I was doing a resume workshop with my clients, and I was like, I saw something about 10 to 15 years of experience, and I'm like, man, if I own a business and I see someone saying 10 to 50 years of experience, I would just give the person like $10,000 and say, bro, you need to go start your own business, man. What are you doing 10 to 50 years of experience looking for a job? Bro, go start. Like I would invest.
That's true, eh? Because at that point, like towards whatever the experience is, they have like a PhD almost,
I'm
like
telling
actually,
you.
actually, yeah, PhD more so.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
That's true. I never thought of that.
You know, right?
Yeah, that's a few degrees that you have in that experience.
I'm telling you, like, because they say it literally takes about, they say it takes 10,000 hours to master something. So 10 years doing same thing, man. No, 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 no. 10 years is too much. I mean, 10 years is just too much. I mean,
Yeah.
if you had to go hardcore, like I'm giving myself, and that's another thing about my coaching business where I'm taking my time. I'm not in a rush. I see some DM say, hey Paul, how many clients are you serving, this and that, that. I'm like, stop disturbing me. Like just leave me alone. Like what's wrong with you? I'm telling you, because for me, my goal first of all is I'm in this for life.
Mm,
And for me, I go with the analogy like I'm an oak tree. Oak tree takes time in growing.
mm,
It's not something that you plant. It's not a corn you plant today. Next tomorrow you go and it's already like no. It takes its time. And
mm,
and when it grows, it's slow. But when it's fully mature, it's so wide and big. You understand, right? So for me, I'm like same with my coaching business. I'm taking my time. So I created an online course called Unravel Your Uniqueness. It's a 2 hour course on Udemy, right?
mm,
I tried selling it, but I was like, I'm still new at coaching and all that. I went through the hustle of selling, and I'm like, you know what? Uh, after one point, I felt God was telling me that I should let the course be for free, because to me that's like an introduction for my men's coaching, and to me it's more like, okay, I'm putting up these new ideas for the first time. Nobody know me from Adam, you understand, right? To say, oh, okay, let me see what has this guy been up to and all that. So I'm like, this is my first work. I'm going to do it for free. I'm going to put it for free. So I tried making it free, but I'm unable to because they said that they changed their policy. So what I do is I give free coupon codes, right, every month, right? So I've been doing that. And for me, I'm like, okay. And that was why I also started the podcast, because I'm like, it's not everyone that might have access to the online course. So let me start the podcast so that I can build on the principles from the online course and just keep sharing. And also I can be like a voice of authority in my own like niche, you
yes.
understand? And
Yes.
that way I'm also perfecting my skills. I'm also perfecting this and that and all that. So now this is 2 years in of me coaching, but I started my podcast last month. That is October last year. Sorry, last year, not last month, last year,
Mm,
right? And here we are, 20 episodes in. And honestly, I'm very grateful that I didn't rush the process.
mm,
So I've been seeing the need to take it one step at a time. I just keep saying that it's God that called me to do this. So I shouldn't be in a hurry. And honestly, Collins, I have gotten invitations. I have gotten invitations from time to time to come speak. I've gotten invitations to come train. I've gotten this and that. And I'm just like, God, thank you for this.
mm,
And when I say I have a 9 to 5 job, so that is priority, right? My coaching job is for life. So I'm like, I need to focus on my 9 to 5 and be the best, because trust me, uh, not just where most of the paycheck is coming from, but also I'm still seeing the clients I'm serving as the client I would serve if I'm to be a coach. You understand? So for me, I'm growing as a coach in my 9 to 5 job. I'm growing as a digital media person. I'm growing all around, as though I'm sorry, as though it's my coaching business. So my
Of course.
so it's more like my 9 to 5 is feeding into my coaching, and my coaching is feeding into my 9 to 5. So
Mm,
that's such a very like nice system. And it took me a while to really create it that way, or to see it that way. You
yeah.
understand, right? And since I started approaching it that way, honestly, I just feel very relaxed. And I mean, I need to spend time with my wife, and I cherish those moments I spend with her. I cherish those moments that we get to just be, because for me, that is where I also draw strength from. I it took me a while to understand that, yes, as a man we have to grind, but we have to be smart in our grinding too. you know yeah, yeah,
It's very
so
true. Some men will grind themselves out of a marriage, because
boom.
they're going so hard, and
Exactly.
it's just not worth it whatsoever. Like I feel the exact same way. I draw a lot of strength
Yeah,
from just being around my wife, spending the time,
yeah,
like any day she has off, like as soon as I get off of training or whatever I'm doing, like I try to like spend as much time with her, because it's
yeah.
just like it's very very worth it. But
Very.
yeah, man, that's smart that you were able to see it that way. See, that's like I'm learning a lot from you today. I gotta say, I'm learning a lot because I'm at a point
Thanks, bro.
where I'm trying to, like, I'm also coaching, right? And I've done well within my first year of coaching. I've done
Awesome.
a lot more than other coaches I speak to are just starting out
Yeah,
in terms of finance. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it takes time. It really does. And lately I've been trying to rush it
yeah,
because I'm at a point where I will be like without, you know, I I know something will come. I have
yeah,
faith
yeah,
always. Something always comes and I can always get a job in
yeah.
anything, like as long as I pursue. But like I'm at a point where it's like financially by the end of like July, I'm gonna be like in some straits, like
Mm-hmm,
some dire straits kind of thing. So
mm-hmm.
I've been trying to operate out of desperation,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
is which
No,
is
I
never
understand.
yeah, which is
Yeah,
never
yeah.
never the place to be in, right? So it's like I've been trying to rush it. Like where are the conversations going to come from? How am I going to do this? Like who am I going to talk to?
Exactly.
And all that stuff. And just talking to you just like this, and just thinking of that oak tree, it's true. It just takes time. And
It
a,
does.
and a big thing, I think a big thing that you have where you're able to take time is that you have the 9 to 5, and
Exactly.
you're able to understand that the 9 to 5 is helping the coaching business, and
Exactly.
it's not something that's hindering it. Because
Exactly.
if you felt like it was hindering it, you'd have to have the 9 to 5 and the coaching business.
Exactly. Boom.
And
That's the thing. That's the thing.
mm,
You're 100% correct. And
true,
honestly, to be frank with you, I still hustle. Like, I still do other things. I sometimes I do Uber and Lyft.
true.
See, there are days I'm like, see, there are days I'm 9 to 5 coaching, because I have some clients who I serve to. And after that, I'm like Uber and
Mm,
Lyft, and I come back home. I mean, it just depends on the season. But one thing for sure is that I'm just happy that I have systems. And honestly, I'm still looking out for more systems. Like, what are the other ways and other things I can do? You understand that? Of course, it's not going to take me out of my my focus, which is, say, my coaching. But I'm like, okay, how else can I monetize my coaching? What are some other things I can do to monetize my coaching? You get, so those are some things I'm thinking of, and also like praying about, and I know for sure it will come. Like, the other component is, aside coaching, is my digital mentorship, right? So
mm,
I recently started a service called digital mentorship, where outside of my 9 to 5, if there's someone else who needs to know, who wants to learn about these programs, podcasting, um, graphic design, video editing, I can teach them. You understand, right? So that's another like area that I've started. You understand, right? And I have a client who is going through that. So I've just been, and now, because there are kind of like too many things going around, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to confuse anyone. So that's why you notice some days I don't just post. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not going to post for this week. I just want to enjoy my life. I just want to focus on my 9 to 5. I'm telling you. And then for me, is is my 9 to 5 and then my podcasting, right?
Mm.
And then if I have time to spare for coaching 1 or 2 clients, fine. But I've just made it that, and my goal is that I want to focus on the podcasting such that it will grow and be that voice of authority, that even when I'm to like say I want to host like a conference, for instance, with other men like yourself and all that, you put a ticket of 5 grand, nobody's complaining.
Mm.
You know, right?
Yeah.
Why? Because you've invested heavily in it. Like they can see a track record of whatever you've been doing. You understand? If I want to charge even $10,000 per session, no one is going to complain. Oh, you want free thing? Okay, go binge on my 100 episode podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
You get right.
Exactly.
So,
100%. I'm doing the same thing, right?
yeah,
Like that's exactly
exactly,
what I'm trying to do, right?
exactly. So this is planted season. You
Mm.
understand, right? It just is planted season. We planted it. While we planted it, we also like, by God's grace, bread is coming in from other angles. And that's why I used to frown, honestly, and I'm going to say this unapologetically, right? If you're watching this podcast and you're one of those who is telling people to quit their 9 to 5 in order for them to focus on that thing they're passionate about, I think that's bad advice, for real. And
Terrible.
you know what, right? Because not everybody has money stored or piled up somewhere to say, oh, okay, I'm going to use that as my safety net. And some of those people advising, they have money piled up somewhere. They have uncles and aunties to help them. Some of us, like me, who came to this country with my suitcase and $200 in my pocket, and you telling me to stay out of my 9 to 5. I had someone advising me that I did punch him through the screen though, but I guess I would have. You get right.
Man, yeah, I'm 100% with you. People who say to quit the 9 to 5, people who are telling people that they shouldn't be sleeping.
Yeah,
Uh, and you know what? It's usually very young people
exactly.
who don't have much exposure to a shelter or to like
Yeah,
a gang life, street life type of thing where you have to go
exactly.
through certain things, and they have no idea what they're talking
They
about.
have no idea. I'm telling you, like when they spend one night on a low mattress with rats around, then they would understand that, yeah, like they need, even if it's to work at Tim Hortons just to bring something coming in, and then they can then still stay awake up night if they want to, and they can work on their dreams at night. But for real, like uh
It's so funny you bring that up. Yeah, I hate when I see that. Like, oh,
yeah,
because it's like, and also it's like you don't know, like somebody might like that kind of life. And
yeah,
because they're watching you and they're comparing themselves to you, and you're saying to quit this 9 to 5, all of a sudden they're walking in your footsteps into your dream. But
exactly.
that's not the way they're wired. You know what I mean? Like for me, I never expect people to work 40 different jobs and switch
Yeah.
jobs constantly. Some people
Hmm,
don't like to
hmm.
do that. Some people like to be at a job for 4 years
Yeah,
and learn
yeah,
everything and become the best and go up the ranks in that company and everything. Like you can't just, I have a friend who doesn't like jobs at all. He works, he does graphic design,
yeah,
he'll get clients, he'll do tech stuff, he'll
yeah,
do like VC stuff, he'll do advisory stuff. Like he just
yeah,
goes from
yeah,
thing to thing, and he's made an incredible amount of money, but he doesn't like to get jobs. Like that's just not
yeah.
the way he's
That's not,
wired,
yeah,
you
exactly,
know?
exactly. Yeah,
He
yeah,
does he doesn't thrive when he has a 9 to 5, he doesn't thrive. When he's in the chaos of everything, that's what he likes, you know?
exactly.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
so
yeah. People are just wired in different ways, honestly. And that's another beautiful thing about coaching I love, wherein you get to really understand people's needs and not enforce your thoughts on them. You know, that was something I really had to learn, how
mm,
not to. Rather, you're trying to find out what is their strength, what is their goals, and how can you assist them in achieving that goal. Simple. And that's just where the conversation is revolved around.
yeah,
Wow.
service, like complete service, just
Yeah,
being in
yeah,
servitude to that person.
yeah.
Before we wrap, I just want to do a little rapid fire type of thing. Usually what I do is I take the whole conversation to ask these questions, but your story and everything that you were talking about was just so Amazing. I just wanted to go into that instead because that was a great conversation about just
Yeah.
where you've come from, and man, a lot of hardships, and you've come through it with sparkling white teeth and amazing smile, and it's amazing. You wouldn't guess it, man. You wouldn't guess it from the way that you act. Like I understand why the bullies thought that you were a well-off person because you hold yourself like such. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I learned that from
Definitely.
my dad, man. Honestly, you gotta. My dad, my surprise, my dad wasn't even well off. He was broke, but trust me, like this guy was making women melt like ice cream. Like it was that hot. The guy literally transformed the weather. My mom told me. She told me she was like he was so hot there. Like that the manager in the office was like after him, and a couple of other girls said I like, I see, makes sense.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, you know what? That's a good segue because I was actually going to ask. It's not on the list, but
Yeah.
you said your father still, even though he passed away when you're so young, he said still instilled certain things in you. What do you feel like the most important thing he instilled in you was?
Structure.
Mm,
Yeah. Like a man has to be a man of order, right? A man of structure. And
mm,
you don't just cower to anything people are saying because oh that's the in thing in town, oh that's what's going on, oh that's this and that, all those virtue signaling and all that. Like just be a man of structure. Just be the word man, if you ask me, is more like rock. That's
mm.
how we define it. You understand, right? Like just be firm in your values, firm in your belief, and just give yourself order, and things flow from there. Yeah.
True, true. I was gonna ask another question is what was the time you felt most not like a man?
Ooh. This is a good question. So I had this breakup in 2019. Yeah.
Mm,
And yeah, I would say the last time I felt that way was when I was just a child. After then, yeah, that was when I felt that way because to me, I sort of I reflect a lot, right? And based on accountability, I ask myself, how did I mess up? How did I contribute for this thing to happen, for it to be this way? Could there be anything I should have done better? So it was that point of my reflection. I saw that yes, I really messed up. I didn't do what I should have done, so that was when I felt that way. And that was the tipping point of me deciding and making that resolve that I would never be this way for the rest of my life. Never, ever would I. Um, I want to build myself up, not to ever witness this type of thing again. Yeah.
wow, wow, that's amazing. What's the time that you felt the most like a man?
Ooh, when I met my in-laws. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. When I met my in-laws, that was when I felt that way. I felt like, because, bro, like, this is me coming to marry a beautiful Filipino woman.
mm.
And I'm just a guy who has a 9 to 5 job, who coach and who does Uber to spare time. And it's more like, I want to marry, and it's like, okay, all right. So how do you intend to marry? Like, how do you intend to go about it? And, um, just having that, going through that process of proving yourself that I'm capable of taking care of not just myself, I'm capable of taking care of your daughter. I'm capable of giving her the better life. I'm capable of taking care of her, providing, making her dreams come true. Yeah, that was the moment that I felt like, yes, as in, this is it. Like, God, we got to go all in.
Wow,
Yeah,
wow,
I'm telling you.
that's
And
amazing.
yeah, and honestly, I'm so grateful because right now I get to see the way my in-laws look at me. I see the eyes of adoration in
Mm,
them, right? Like saying, yes, like they are happy, they approved, they're
mm,
excited of it. And
mm,
I'm so happy right from the get-go. Because like how external is. Like you, okay, you want to get to say 1 bedroom, you want to move, how's it going to be? You got to pay first and last, you got to furnish the apartment. Now, how we were able to go through those things, that's my wife and I just planning and me working extra just to make sure that we have the funds to furnish, get this and that and all that. As in just seeing how the system worked and we're able to achieve it, it was like dynamite. You understand, right?
Mm.
And not just that, 2 months after that, we planned our wedding, and it's like everything just turned out so beautiful, you know? And it's like, whoa, I tell my wife that if we had told people we won a lottery, I swear they would believe because because how it happened, like it was just boom, boom, boom. We still went on a trip to Quebec City. You know, we had a nice time and everything. And it was just like, wow, like God, like you're just more than enough, you know? So them seeing these things happen, and for the fact that, you know, they say one of the reason people couples chorus financial issues, right? And also like divorce is also financial issues. But just seeing us go through that moment of planning, prepping, and all that, and being able to work together and still able to love each other and still enjoy ourselves, you know, and still get to like host our family, treat them well, be present for them. It's like, wow, you know? Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That definitely is one of those moments. It would have to be because it's almost like a well, how do they say a rite of passage, you
Yeah.
know? And yeah, that's amazing that you did that. Another question is, what's your outlook on vulnerability, and when was the last time you felt the most vulnerable?
Yeah, so vulnerability is strength, man. Yeah,
Mm,
that's it. Yeah, so all my life I've been vulnerable, to be frank with you. All my life, like growing up without a father, that was like a super vulnerable moment.
of course.
Navigating through that and just being in completely different society and locations that I haven't been to, wherein I just have to be vulnerable to get the best of life, wherein I'm like, this is who I am, this is what I need. Are you able to help me? You say yes or
Mm,
no. You understand, right? As simple as that, honestly, that is the principle I've applied everywhere I've been to. Yes, some people have taken advantage of me. Yes, some people have laughed at me. Yes, but guess what? It just showed me who they really are. As simple as that, and life moves on. So I would say I've expressed vulnerability even in my marriage. Like I tell my wife, like, this is something that's bothering me. Like, this is it. Like, how can you help me? How can we get this sorted out? You know, and the beautiful thing is all those moments we find strength in each other and we just pray about it. And
mm.
honestly, like a light switch, right? The way it happens is like a light switch. The sense of solution just comes forward.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's good, man. That's really good. Good
Yeah.
that you guys can deal with it together at times. That's amazing.
Yeah.
When was the last time you felt really scared, and how did you deal with it?
Good question. So I think the last time I was scared was it should be during the whole like wedding, like say me yeah, I would say it's within that wedding time, like, you know, trying to get
Mm,
approval and all those things, right? And yeah, like I was afraid that, you know, maybe it wouldn't work out or it could work out, you know. And I was able to deal with it, bro. Trust me, I prayed and fasted, man. That is it. That's like that's my source of that's where I get my energy from, honestly.
mm,
I
true.
just fast and pray, man. And it's amazing how God really answers prayers, man. For real. It might sound
Mm,
very repetitive and mundane and stuff like that, but trust me, that is just the only source of strength and the only hope I have, for real, all my
wow.
life. Yeah.
That's that's very commendable that you can just go into that, because a lot of guys will have the pride and want to go into that, like I
Hmm.
can handle it. It's hard to turn to an external force,
Hmm.
especially a quote unquote invisible one, the way everybody's taught,
Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
but yeah, it's true. I've seen it myself, man. Like I told
Yeah,
you, when I first joined that men's group, man,
yeah,
I asked for strength in order to become sober. And my wife held me down, she helped me, and all of a sudden it just became easy.
exactly.
The second I started praying, because I hadn't started praying, I'm only like 6 months deep in actually going into prayer on my knees,
Yeah.
and the second I started doing it, everything just fell away that needed to fall away, like easy,
Wow.
really
Oh,
easy,
yeah. I'm telling you, that's one of the transforming power of Jesus, It's I that's something that I really want to be talking more about, even in podcast and when I'm having conversations with people, that this is our this is not just our stories, our testimony, and testimony ignites other people. So
Very true. Very true. Yeah, I'm very open about it. I
yeah.
often say to people, I just started praying to God instead of the universe, and things started to happen.
Mm.
I'm not overbearing about it, but like I just kind of say that because everybody's like into the universe, and
Yeah.
I was like, I just kind of went to the architect instead of to the structure, and
I'm telling you, right?
and
Yeah.
it started clicking. So,
Yeah.
but another question, what's your biggest regret as a man, like in manhood? What's something that you wish you did earlier in your coming of age?
Wow, Collins, that's a good question. And honestly, this is not me being prideful or anything. I don't have any regret. I swear to God.
Mm,
And this isn't, you're not the first person who have asked me this question and the same answer I give. I really don't have any regrets. See, like moments like say, oh, someone bullying me, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could go back and punch the person, all this kind of thing. Nah, nah. The only thing I can pray is let me see the person in the future, and you know whatever happens happens, but I'm
yeah,
not vengeful anyway.
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
uh but I when I look back, I always pick up the lessons, like this thing happened for me to learn this, and this is what I learned, and I take it and I move on with it. You understand,
Mm,
right? That's how I've always lived my life. And yes, I did things that I feel like, oh my God, I shouldn't have done that better, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I mean, I feel bad, but then, okay, if this things to happen next time, what will I do? And how
mm.
would I address it? So that is just how that's how I live my life. And so far, no regrets, no regrets. I would say not knowing how to ride a bicycle is a regret because I don't know how to ride a bicycle.
You don't know how?
I don't know how.
Wow, that's crazy. That's
So
crazy. You gotta learn. You gotta learn, man.
that's the thing, right? So
You
if
gotta.
if yeah, sometimes like yeah, if I could learn how to ride a bicycle, if I knew how to ride a bicycle, maybe I would be one of these cross country like cyclists. But then guess what? I'm like, okay, if that could be a goal of mine, then I can plan towards it and do that in the future.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
You gotta,
so
you gotta do that. Like, I'm when you say that, it reminds me of because I can't swim. I can't swim at all. I have no
me
idea how
too.
to swim.
I can
Yeah,
swim in a swimming pool, but in a lake, I'm like, nah.
I can't do anything. I can't even tread. I'll just sink. I'll just
Wow.
sink and drown. But but the thing, it's funny. I actually learned it from my friend who was a religious Jewish, and he
Wow.
was just talking about. He's like one of the things of like manhood is that he listed off some things. He's like, but you have to be the one to teach your son to swim. He's like,
Wow.
and you have to be like, it was just a bunch of things that you have to show your son how to do. And he's like, and those are like the last kind of steps of manhood. Like he said it differently, but like that's kind of what he was working towards. And
Wow.
and like that's like learn you should learn how to do that so
Yeah, yeah.
you can show your kids, because like I definitely have to learn how to swim so I can show my son, daughter, how to swim, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's an ASAP thing,
I'm
and
telling
and
you.
it's easy. You can learn how to ride a bike easy, man, easy.
I'm
It's
going, no, for real, I'm going to learn, man. I'm going to
it's
learn.
as it's as easy as riding a bike, you know? You know the expression?
But you know, like see things like driving, like right now, I'm like, I'm Vin Diesel. Like I'm the black version of Vin Diesel when it comes to driving. See, I could like driving is my hobby. Hence why I'm like Uber Lyft, because
Yeah.
to me it's like converting my hobby into monetizing it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Driving I could do, but then I'm like, okay, honestly, I'm looking out for where I can learn bike riding. And I don't mind wearing like all the knee pad, elbow
Nah,
pad, like some type
you
of
won't even you won't even need that, man. Me and Joel are gonna teach you how to ride a bike, man.
okay.
I'm gonna let Joel know because I know Joel has a bunch of nephews. But he has a bike for sure. We can throw you on, man. Don't
Oh
worry,
man, that would be
we
great.
got you.
Honestly, that would be great. As long as you don't just let go, though, because I'm like, oh, Collins.
It's funny, like I didn't have my dad around. My brother, my oldest brother, Jason, he taught me how to ride a bike. He
Oh,
was the
that's
one.
nice, man.
He did that for me. But
Oh, that's nice.
yeah, yeah. So another question: what is the biggest misconception about being a man that you had growing up, and even now?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say that sometimes a man just want to be a friend, right? And say some ladies just think otherwise. Yeah, that was one thing I had back then.
Okay.
Yeah. I know earlier in the podcast when I was saying that, that you take someone's number and they're like, da 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 da. Yeah, there's situations where you just want to be people's friend, but then someone is just misinterpreting it that you are wanting to make advances, which then makes them just put their guards up and all that, right? So it took me a while to learn that,
Mm,
yeah, I think I just need to respect myself and be with myself and just
mm,
not disturb other people. Honestly, if it happens, it happens. If friendship happens, no problem. But initiating it sometimes, I'm like, no.
mm,
I noticed it was really becoming a little bit somehow, right?
mm.
And I know many men witness the same thing too. There are
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
times, yeah. Uh, Another misconception, I could say is like, men don't cry, men can't be weak, men can't be vulnerable. I mean, I
Mm,
literally had back in Africa, like a couple of girls tell me this type of things, like, aren't
mm,
you a man? You are too soft, you are too this, you're too that, right? And I'm like, for me, it's just me being me and being me being human. You understand, right? And now I understand too why, even in Africa, like the way masculinity look like, sometimes it's endangering to itself. You
mm,
understand, right? Yeah, it because it doesn't give you that avenue of being human.
mm,
That when you're now a human, it looks like there's something missing. you know,
mm.
yeah. Um,
Sure.
yeah. So what other misconception again do I know of? Like for me though, yeah, I can say I still speaking about masculinity. Like okay, oh, like a man just have to be on the get go like 247. Like my wife should tell me, she'll be like, hope you know you are not Superman. Like you
Mm,
need to rest, you need to
yeah,
sleep, you need to eat.
yeah.
Excuse me. So those are like some things, right? Right. For me, I'm just like, man, I just wanna, oh, I just wanna do this things, but then she's like, babe, calm down.
So
Yeah.
so for you, what's the most difficult part of being a man?
Ooh. Uh, Man, honestly, I haven't really come across that type of thing. Why for me? Because I own up to all the difficulty that
Mm,
being a man posed to me.
mm,
I am aware about what it entails to be a man. So can I be tired sometimes? And I'm like, man, I just want to rest.
mm,
Yes, sometimes you understand, right? But for me to say, um, oh man, I'm tired of maybe being a man. I don't want to be a man anymore. You understand, right? No. So now again, like that question, so far, honestly, I can say no, I don't witness any difficulty. And what I'm saying so is because I've not had moments where I get to complain. right? About this. Why? Because I expect the difficulty I am witnessing.
Mm,
You understand? I know it's going to come. So what I can do is prepare myself before those moments arrive. You
mm.
understand, right? Yeah,
That's a that's a really
that's just it.
that's a different type of answer. That's smart. That's a smart way to look at it,
Yeah,
you
because
know.
I wouldn't say, oh, providing is one of the difficult aspect of being a man, because this is how I see it. I'm a vine, and what does the vine do? What's the vine's job? To produce grape.
Mm.
And you don't get to thank the vine for producing grape. You produce and that's it. Produce and shut up. Keep quiet. Save your pride for later. You understand what I mean, right?
I
So
do, I do.
for me, it's more like every challenge or every obstacle or anything that any man can go through, to me is more like that is it, that is what life is, that is what a man would face. You understand?
Mm.
So it shouldn't surprise, it's not surprising me that, oh, this is happening. It's just that, oh, I wasn't prepared, so what do I do now? I need to shut up and prepare myself and face
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Wow. Your son's gonna have a time. You're gonna be like, listen, you're a vine. I need you to shut up and
And
produce.
produce, man.
This B plus is not acceptable. Not in this house. You have to
you know
understand. I stayed in a shelter, okay? And I went early and I stayed.
Colors, come on. Now, I'm gonna love the guy. I used to tell my wife that I know right now God is hosting a seminar, because I already have a name for my son Isaac. I said, I know God is in heaven hosting a seminar for Isaac, and it's like, your father, man. You've seen him. So, bro, Isaac, you
Be
better behave.
prepared. He's gonna turn on this podcast. You're gonna be like, listen. You gotta watch this, okay?
I'm telling you, I'm telling you, I'm telling you.
Man.
Yeah.
Um, but what's the most important lesson that you've learned about being a man or learned about manhood?
Oh, that's a good question. That it's a journey.
Mm,
It's a journey, exactly. It's more like a warrior's tale. You understand, right? Wherein
mm,
you start off being weak, being feeble, being vulnerable. You're not so smart, you're not so calculated and everything. You have a lot of losses, a lot of defeat, but
mm.
then you spend the night just practicing. I don't know if you've seen the movie Spartacus, the series Spartacus. It's really old.
No, no.
Okay. It's very gory and very graphic, but I love it. Till tomorrow, I keep saying it. I love it. I don't mind telling my pastor I love Spartacus, no matter how
Oh,
gory that my
Spartacus.
Spartacus. Yeah, the series.
Spartacus, yes. So, oh my gosh, yeah.
Eh,
That was a I love that show. I couldn't believe the guy died the first season. I was like, "Oh
right?
no."
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been one of the best shows in history
Ever.
if
I'm
they'd kept
telling you.
going.
You know why I love it? Because it's to me, it's like the it portrayed the story of manhood, like the story of a man. Even as he was so-called, like, leader of an army and stuff like that, you feel like he's strong, but when he was mixed with the others, the guy was a weakling. You understand,
Mm,
right?
mm,
So it's more like we all have our individual strength that we bring into the table, but then there are situations that you realize that, man, I'm not strong. Like, I thought I was strong when I came into Canada, but when I saw the reality of life, I was damn weak, and I had to build myself. I had to build my strength, right? And yeah, so for me, it's more like just a warrior's tale of the whole aspect of being a man. So when I approach it that way, it makes me embrace my vulnerability. It makes me aware of my vulnerability, and it makes me curious to learn, and it makes me then want to be humble to learn, to
mm,
subject myself to learn. And that's another thing about men. Lots of men, they are not humbling themselves to want to learn. They are not humbling themselves to serve. They are not humbling themselves to be poured into. And
mm.
proud folks can't for any reason be poured into by human or by the spirit. That's God, right? So just humbling oneself and just approaching life one step at a time and not trying to rush the process. I feel like that is what makes a man a man. because at the end of the day, you will be strong. You will be very strong and even stronger. But again, it's a process. Yeah.
True, true. I have seen that. I've had that in my younger days, and I've gotten rid of that in terms of like now I'm more humble and open to learning from anybody. Podcasting
Mhm.
helped me a lot with that, sitting down with
Yeah,
so many different people and just learning, you know.
exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, that's it's a very true thing because when your pride overrides what somebody else is saying, when it becomes like, you see it in a lot of men where it's very prideful. You tell them something and everything is me too,
Yeah,
and I
yeah, yeah.
already know that, and I
Mm-hmm.
know that, and I yeah, and it's like they can't be exactly what you just said. They can't be poured into. It's
Yeah,
like it's like that cup is being covered,
exactly. Yeah,
that
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Awesome.
that's sad. But let's end it with and you kind of just did it in that little part, but I was gonna say if you could give advice to young men who are having trouble on their path to manhood, what would it be?
Mm. Yeah, just know that again, just like the video game you will play, especially if you play God of War. Yeah, Kratos' story is almost like a natural man story,
Mm,
Again, just back to what I said, just like the warrior, like for Kratos,
mm,
he you start playing him very strong and all that, like especially in
mm,
I think is it the one on the PlayStation 2, and then they absorb his power, right? And he has to start from the beginning again, defeating bosses and taking different ores and stuff like that. Honestly, that's what life is for sure. You understand, right? Like if you
mm,
start with the best weapon for any game, that game is not sweet. Life
mm,
won't be sweet if you just start with being, it all, you have all the superpowers and everything. Trust me, to be bored. You understand, right? So it's just first of all understanding that yes, if you if you want to be strong, if you want to be a better man, you have to humble yourself and learn. You have to humble yourself and just, yeah, eat the humble pie and learn. Your time will come. It's a process. You understand, right? You need the right people around you. You need every man needs a mentor for sure. Hence the need for father. And for me, I had father figures growing up. These are not like men who are related to me. These are just men who, family friends and all that. I look up to them. I see what they're doing. How are they living their life? And those were also the things that shaped my whole idea about masculinity and manhood. You will see men who train people who are not their biological kids, train them through schools. I had men who paid my school fees. I'm telling
wow.
you, who invested in me for real. Yeah. So just growing up and see those things made me understand that if I, for like right now, my friends, especially those who give me the permission to be like to pour into them, exactly, I get to I get to share with them,
Mm,
from even if it's anything like say finances, assisting them with one or two things, or even if it's just taking care of them, like making sure that they achieve that goal, or making sure I connect them with certain resources and opportunities. You understand, right? Because for me, I see it like it is my responsibility to do that. Yeah,
mm,
because I would expect them to do it for me too, because other people have done it for me. So why can't I do it for others? You understand, right?
mm,
So, um, yeah, and I would say, yeah, just having those father figures and then looking out for other people you can be a father to, regardless of your age, for real. Y- Fatherhood doesn't matter the age. I know what I'm saying might sound like, huh, really? How? Tell me. But for real, because you've lived your life to a certain point, you've experienced certain things. There's a young guy after you who needs some of the advice and wisdom that you've curtailed. And the
mm,
truth is, sometimes not until you position yourself to be like a father to other people, you won't be mindful about the things that you're doing. You won't even think about the way you live in your life.
mm,
You understand, right? So
yeah.
all those things really shape how a young man would approach. So it's yes, you're looking up to people, and you're looking at other
Mm,
people that you can support. You understand, right? And just knowing that it takes time. It takes time. Everything takes
mm,
time, man. And if you look at the life of men in the Bible, Jesus, Joseph, David, like you notice that this man, yeah, it's usually from age 30 that they became what it is. Abraham, we're talking of is it 80 to 100 or whatever, you understand?
Yeah,
Just imagine
yeah,
we've just spent 30 years and it's like, man, Lord, oh, oh I can't, like, you just spent 30 years. Like back in the days, 30 years is like you are just still 3 years old,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? How much more 90? So if and how, as a young man, what you spend your years doing right now would determine what your 30-year-old will look like.
Mm,
It's all investment, all investment.
true,
Yeah.
true. And the bonus question, since you brought him up, Isaac, what is your hope for your son?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, my hope for him, honestly, I'm still praying about that, because now that is a level I have never been to. You understand?
Mhm,
So that's a new level. But
mhm,
my hope for him is that he's definitely going to be uh, a light of the world and a salt of the earth, and he's going to impact lives. He's going to be the best in whatever God has gifted him to be, and whatever God has gifted him to do. And I'm definitely going to support him from start till to finish. And yeah, like, he's going to have the best experience any child can ever have. Yeah. Yeah,
good.
exactly.
Good, good. Well, guys, this has been another episode of the Open Brother Project. Major Pane, Mr. Paul Newton. Where can people find you? Spotify. We have the Major Pane podcast, and
Yeah.
where were you selling these online courses and stuff like that? Where's
Oh,
that
good
at?
question. So that is on Udemy.
Mm.
Udemy is an online course platform. So the name of the course is Unravel Your Uniqueness. And
Unravel your uniqueness.
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. You can also check out my website, www.majorpain, uh, intl.ca. So majorpainintl, one word, .ca. And over there, like, my website is my hub where I post like the podcast episodes. So if you maybe might not find it on Spotify, which of course you'll find it on Spotify, I get to embed everything on my website. And then I also have blog articles there that can help you. I tried to release weekly blog titles, and some topics are just completely different from men's podcast or
Mm.
related to men's related items. But yeah, I find those topics very interesting, and I do my research for my content and really make it in depth. My goal for this year is to write and publish like 100 blog posts and podcast titles. That's like my
Okay.
goal for this year. Um, so we are at it. I just love challenging myself, man. It's awesome for real.
Amazing, amazing. Well, man,
Yeah,
thank you again for being on the podcast, and thank you
yeah.
for all this time, man. I know I took up a bunch of your time. Just thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for giving me all the time to express myself. It's been awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much.
All
Later,
right, cool.
guys.
All right, later. All the best.